What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tooned Up on the Renegade Pop Culture Network. I am your host, Mike, and joining me today is my co-host, as always, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And today is another filler episode, if you will, where we'll be talking all things in the world of television animation. Specifically, we'll be going over the non-troversy that is happening around the new Looney Tunes cartoons, and we'll be giving our spoiler-ish thoughts on Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts seasons 1 and 2, and the anime
Dorohedoro.
Yes. But first, we have a little bit of a news breakdown. Cameron, what do we got?
There's not a whole lot of news out right now because of, everything. But the Annecy Film Festival recently announced that in the work in progress section, Cartoon Saloon's newest feature, Wolfwalkers by Tom Moore, the director of Song of the Sea, which was Oscar nominated, will be in the work in progress section. So if you're going to be joining the online festivities, you will probably be able to watch, a work in progress, or just hear Tom Moore or whoever's, hosting the event talk about the film and whatnot. Get a good behind the scenes look.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that as I would any Cartoon Saloon film.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just excited for Annecy in general to start tomorrow. Tomorrow till the 30th?
It's going from the 15th to the 30th, and I have my online subscription, and you do as well.
Yep.
So the plan there is Mike and I are going to take 2 or so weeks to go over it all. Next week's Tooned Up episode will cover Morona's Fantastic Tale as it goes through its virtual theater rollout, and the new Netflix anime film, A Whisker Away. But after next week's episode, we should probably have a good comprehensive discussion about Annecy and how this whole online festival went for us.
Yeah, we're entering pretty uncharted territory when it comes to digital film festivals. So this will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Speaking of the digital age, San Diego Comic-Con is going home this year. And the dates are the same dates as the regular convention would have taken place.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe all the panels will be available for free. So we'll keep you posted the more we learn about which studios will be represented and whatever news stories come out of the convention.
And that'll be fun. I forgot about that announcement, but that's good because it's rough times for everyone, including film festivals and conventions. We're all just trying to, find some joy as we go through all that is going on.
Right. Any other news before we break into our main discussion?
There's not a whole lot else. Kind of a dry spell right now, so really there's no new animated films coming out until August with SpongeBob. But until then, we'll probably be doing filler episodes talking about topics around animation or talking about other shows. Like the new Robot Chicken creators show, Crossing Swords, is on Hulu, but we're going to wait until a few other shows premiere, like Brand New Animal from Studio Trigger, to tackle that.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. And now, without any further ado, let's dive into this non-troversy that's happening surrounding HBO Max's new Looney Tunes cartoons.
All right. So, a article, I forgot where, in an interview was talking about, asked about the fact that Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd, 2 iconic Looney Tunes characters, do not have guns. Outside of the fact that they still use deadly force and other weapons. This kind of blew up for a few days, and then it was all swept under the rug when Gone with the Wind was removed from HBO Max before it's being put back up. But yeah, this is a very stupid controversy. Out of all the controversies so far, this one might be dumber than the interspecies reviewers controversy, and that's a whole other can of worms to get into. I guess you and I agree, but what do you think?
Oh, It is like the definition of a non-troversy for a couple reasons. One, like these shorts have been out since the 27th of May, and they're great. Not quite on the level of the classic Looney Tunes shorts, but compared to other revivals, which that in and of itself is a filler episode for another day.
Right.
But no, like of all like the previous Looney Tunes revivals, this is the closest to really capture the essence of what made those classic shorts so great. And this era specifically covers, the character designs and the movement and like the, high speed slapstick energy is really more reminiscent of like the Tex Avery, Bob Clampett flavor than the more like dialogue heavy Chuck Jones era.
Yeah, I mean, this is what really works about it. It's a reimagining per se, a revival, but it's not just trying to take from the Chuck Jones era of Looney Tunes, which is nice because there's only so many ways you can make Daffy a greedy punk. And I like that they went way back further. And if you watch the shorts, you can tell that they went pretty far back. And that's including like the animation, the sound effects. Eric Bauza, who is one of the voice actors who does a majority of the voices for the show, including Bugs, Daffy, Tweety Bird, Marvin, and yeah, that's most of his, alongside other talented voice actors, Fred Tatasciore, Jeff Bergman, and some other appearances from like Tom Kenny and Steve Blum and Kerry Walgreen. It's a very specific take, and you can see that in like the coloring of the explosions, how the characters' eyes look when they get caught in like an explosion, and the interactions between characters. Like this one's very much more old school for Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. Like a lot of those older shorts paired them together, and it's pretty similar to what would happen in those shorts. They would just kind of get on each other's nerves or sometimes work together depending on the plot. And I love the fast-paced humor of it all. I was just going through some of them before this podcast, and I love the fire truck sequence where they all get in the fire truck, and then Daffy goes through like 5 separate rooms just to pick up his coffee while they're still in the fire truck, and then they move out, and then they go around an entire block just to realize that the fire station is on fire before it burns to the ground. And a lot of the things about this, like you say, non-troversy, is that Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd do not change as characters. Yosemite Sam is still a very anger-induced character. Elmer Fudd is still kind of like the doofy human character. And the fact that so many people like identify them with guns is slightly troubling, but also missing the entire point, because Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam as characters have not always used guns 100% of the time. Like Yosemite Sam's been in the Sahara Desert. Yosemite Sam was a knight at one point. In these shorts, he's a roller coaster attendant and a cowboy who arm wrestles people. Elmer Fudd still uses like an axe and violent force to try and take down like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck in the shorts. Really, it takes away from some really good shorts and like a lot of fun technical animation stuff for behind the scenes and who's voicing the characters and such, and focuses on this issue that's not an issue.
It really isn't. There's a YouTuber called Dave Lee Down Under. And he recently put out a video about this non-troversy, and he asked his audience the question of, do you really care about the character or do you care about the gun? Because even going as far back as Elmer's first appearance in the short Elmer's Candid Camera, he's not firing a gun at all. He's taking pictures of wildlife.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because I care about this stuff. If you go further back on Elmer Fudd as a character, he was never a hunter. He started out as a character called Egghead before he slowly evolved into Elmer Fudd as we know him today. And it's like the people care more about the fact that there are no guns, ignoring the entire fact that there's a short where Yosemite Sam uses a jetpack and a chainsaw to try to get at bugs. But, it doesn't matter because he's not using a gun. And that's just being a bad fan and being a bad Looney Tunes fanatic. Because it takes away from some really funny shorts. Like, I forgot how much I love Beaky Buzzard as a character.
He's always been kind of one of the more sneaky favorites of mine.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they got like the mad scientist and Gossamer back, and Tom Kenny plays the mad scientist, and he does it so well. I haven't seen the original short in years, but he has that mad scientist tone down, because I remember it so well. And then they like pull from the well of Looney Tunes by having a Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog episode or short, and you forget how clever and funny that the pairing of that is, even though Ralph Wolf is a Wile E. Coyote clone. And it's funnier when you remember that they are co-workers. They do this as a job. Mm-hmm. And
that's always been my favorite aspect of those shorts. Like they start as, just two coworkers coming in, punching in, just, same old.
It's like, morning, Sam. Morning, Ralph. And yeah, no, like these are funny shorts. They capture a great chaotic energy that you can only find with Looney Tunes. And yeah, I agree. Not all the shorts hit it out of the park, but for the most part, they do. And it's not like the other incarnations betrayed the spirit of Looney Tunes. Like, I'm not on that camp of like, the characters only worked as shorts, like the Duck Dodgers cartoon, the Looney Tunes show, and then the Wabbit thing series. Like, I don't know. It's like, to me, those fans are not looking at the bigger picture. A lot of these characters are still the Looney Tunes, no matter what incarnation or what setting they're put in. That's what makes them good characters. You can just slap them into a scenario and they are still funny and are still endearing.
I think again, we are going to go into greater detail later, but I'll say this, even like at their worst, like movies like Space Jam, which we all know isn't good, but we still love for nostalgia.
Yeah.
Movies like Space Jam and Looney Tunes Back in Action. If we didn't love these characters as much as we did, like those movies would have next to no redeeming qualities. But despite however they performed with critics and the box office, like they still have their cult followings.
Right, and this is why these characters stand the test of time. People still know them. They've been around forever. And just because Yosemite Sam doesn't have his revolvers or Elmer Fudd doesn't have his double-barrel shotgun doesn't change anything. Even the shorts that like had them using guns, yes, the original ones are iconic. Like we all love the duck season, wabbit season sequence and whatnot, but those are still funny because of the characters, not because of the gun.
Exactly.
And this was frustrating to go through so many posts and so many comments, and it's just people being mad for no reason. There are worse reasons to be mad right now. And the fact that two characters aren't using one kind of weapon is just a waste of energy.
Agreed. With that said, we're gonna put this controversy to bed and move on to something so much better.
Yeah.
Starting with one of my favorite new series, Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts.
So for anyone who doesn't know about this, Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts was based off of a webcomic by Radford Seacrest, and it was turned into a TV series by DreamWorks Animation with their television arm, and animated by Studio Mir, the same studio behind the new Voltron and, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it was released on Netflix. The first season arrived on January 14th of this year, and since the new season dropped 2 days ago. So I've been watching this since the release of the first season. Since you've had to go through the entire 20 episodes so far, what do you think about it so far?
I think watching both seasons all in a single day was very satisfying
Hmm.
because it really feels like the show. This kind of feels like it's cliche to say that now because Avatar already kind of broke that gate, but
Hmm.
it feels like very anime storytelling.
Yeah, it's a very distinct post-apocalyptic world that they live in, and I think that's one of its strongest areas. It feels unique because when you think about like post-apocalypse, like media, you think of like Mad Max, Fist of the North Star, to a lesser extent, Violence Jack, but we won't get into that. And it's all like very down and gloomy and such. The world of Kipo is vibrant. It has so much personality to it. And I guess we should do like a small plot summary.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds appropriate.
all right, so the series is about a girl named Kipo Oak who one day wakes up in this post-apocalyptic world, and she was separated by her father, and she goes to like the surface area to find him, and ends up like encountering like the hostile environment of the world that she lives in, but also find some friends along the way, including a young girl named Wolf, a very hip hop centric young man named Benson, his pet bug Dave, and a four-eyed, six-legged pig named Mondu. And the whole premise is that she has to find her father and find out what exactly happened while avoiding the what the show calls these anthropomorphic animal characters, mutes, and she has to avoid the reign or the hands of Scarlamage, a mandrill who has basically conquered the surface world and wants the humans to be servants, or like whatever remainder of the human race is left to be servants for him. So, what would you say is the like? What's your favorite part of the show?
I think my favorite part is the mythology. Season two specifically goes a lot deeper into building out the world and establishing like backstories for Kipo's father, Leo,
Mm-hmm.
Scarlemagne, who gets like a fantastic origin story.
Yeah, yeah.
What else?
There's a lot to like about this series.
Yeah.
It's probably the best new series so far for 2020. And the characters are great. They all have nuance to them, and it helps that there's smart writing, the world is clever and creative. I love what they do with the mutes. Like they're very distinct from one another. There's the what are they called? The timber cats. These
Ooh,
cats the
the timber cats and the snakes are my two favorite of the mute tribes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. The timber cats are these humanoid cats that chop down trees and eat pancakes and love playing like folkish country music. And their leader, voiced by the ever amazing Steve Blum, his name is Yum Yam Hammerpaw. And what are the snakes called again?
I don't remember exactly what they were. Oh,
Well,
the umlaut snakes.
Well, those rattlesnakes have a very close connection to rock and roll music, even down to the fact that one of the leader of these snakes is voiced by Joan Jett. And then you also have other species like motorcycle riding skunks, these gangster frogs called mod frogs, and plenty of others, especially the Newton wolves. These
Newton wolves.
and their leaders, Bad Billions, voiced by GZA, and Good Billions, voiced by John Hodgman. By the way, if you haven't seen Harmon Quest, John Hodgman is in one of the episodes as a guest, and he's just a delight. And like I said, the world feels unique. It's not Mad Max or someone trying to riff on Mad Max.
Yeah,
I've
definitely its own beast, no pun intended.
yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I know. Well, what do you think about the animation? because I feel like some people are going to talk about this because I like the designs. I like how it looks, but I can understand people getting kind of like, wow, the frame rate's kind of weird. But
The frame rate is a little off, but I for the most part, I was just completely sucked in. I like the anime kind of choreography of all the fight scenes.
mm-hmm.
I love the way that Wolf spins around her Deathstalker
Oh yeah,
staff.
yeah.
I also love the way Jamak
Yeah.
fights with his tongue. Um,
Oh yeah.
Also, can we just talk about how Jamak is probably the most like developed of the? I don't even want to call him a villain, but like,
Oh, the mutes.
yeah, he's like very much the definition of an anti-hero.
Yeah, out of all the mutes, outside of Scarlet-Mange, Jamak is the only one to get a proper character arc throughout the first 2 seasons so far. And yeah, it's very interesting to see them breathe like different life into these characters. And one part I want to talk about is the voice cast. First off, the main cast is great. You got Karen Fukuhara as Kipo, Sydney Michaela as Wolf, Coy Stewart as Benson, who, if you watch Mr. Iglesias on Netflix, Coy Stewart is one of the students in Iglesias' class. So, if you're going to get into acting, get an agent that's connected to Netflix. You will show up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Dave the Bug, who probably has one of the funnier gimmicks and probably one of the more touching gimmicks as they play around with it more, as he's like this bug who ages rapidly. It's kind of like a take on like those stories about mayflies living 24 hours.
Oh, yep.
Well, Dave keeps living. He just keeps going from like a baby to a child to a teenager to a young adult to an old man, and then right back to a grub.
They get a lot more mileage with that, I think, in season 2 than in season 1.
Yeah, season 1 plays it just like as a comedic gimmick, but then they give him a lot more, like they play with it a lot more, and I like that. He's also voiced by Dean Cole, who, if you watch like Blackish or any of the spinoff shows, he's like a main star in that. And D. Bradley Baker, who he is in way too many things. You might know him as Klaus from American Dad, or his many voice roles in shows like Ben 10 or like video games like No More Heroes. He's everywhere. It's like it would take more time to say what he's been in than just to say he pops up everywhere. He's Mondu the pig. He's the giant mega monkey. He's the syrup-loving giant flea, Pierre. And the rest of the voice cast is quite good. They have a few big names in there like Sterling K. Brown and Leah Delaria, who I always love seeing. And then like I said, they have Steve Blum, Matt Lowe,
and Dan Stevens as the villain, Scarlet.
Yes, Scarlemagne is voiced by Legion, Downton Abbey, and 2017 Beauty and the Beast star Dan Stevens, and you would not know it's him. He probably is the most charismatic of the main villains. And not to say that, well, actually, yeah, I will say it. He got typecasted after being on Legion. Like,
it's unfortunate, but it happens.
Like, he has that like dead, like kind of silent maniac stare in a lot of the stuff he's in, especially that Netflix film Apostle. But here he gets to be like a quirky, evil British villain. Like he has no problem just like, I'm just going to blow up the earth. And he's a very threatening villain, but he's also very sympathetic as a villain, Scarlemagne. And I know there was a kind of a small debate about like, you don't need to always make your villains sympathetic. Like, you don't always need to like relate to them or feel for them.
But it helps in this case.
Yeah, and did I already say Sterling K. Brown is in this as Kipo's dad?
Yep.
Really, this show does such a good job of enriching you into the world of Kipo. And I have to say, one of my favorite aspects in the technical area is the music. The theme music, I guess I'm going to date myself about saying this, but it slaps. I love listening to that opening. And it's only like a few seconds long, but it is so identifiable.
Yeah, the intro is just like a quick 30-second thing, but it does such a good job at like kind of getting you into the mood of the series. And something else I really like is how like right before the intro starts, they'll write Kipo's name
Yeah.
in all various styles, like depending on the location.
Right. And like, I mean, we could talk about the show like forever, but I want to say this because, sometimes animation gets kind of a bad rap for being just for kids. There are some dark moments in this show. There are some fairly mature moments. Finding out how Scarlamange came to be is really tragic. And some characters don't make it out alive. Or as far as we know, they don't. And some characters do get eaten. Not any of the main cast, but just like side characters that are thrown in from time to time. And like there's definitely like some more story focused episodes, like when they bring in Michael Leon Woolley as Tad Mulholland, a water bear who feeds off of brain energy. And then there's like the ones with the raccoon characters who are like 80 jazzercisers that have to deal with a giant two-headed pigeon
Named Beak Beak.
Yeah, named Beak Beak. And some of them get eaten. I mean, I'm not saying this is like a surprisingly dark show or something like hugely hyper violent is going to happen, but
yeah, it's no more mature than something like Avatar or Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, or like Gravity Falls or something. Like especially when you learn about Wolf's backstory, it's very it's very sad. And I have to say though, just before we move on to like some of the other aspects of the show, I have to say one of my favorite side characters is my man Gerard, the henchman to Scarlamange, who's this big orangutan, and he's just super funny. I just love like anytime he's on screen.
Yeah, I think he's probably my favorite of the henchmen, just because how ridiculous it is seeing Scarlamange just completely torture him.
Yeah, no, this show just works so well. I don't think there's a single part that doesn't work about the world building with this show. Like it all gels well. And I think if anybody who hasn't seen this show yet should absolutely watch it. Just watch it. The show ends on a cliffhanger for another season, and I guess I don't want to spoil it. What happens, because a lot of this show is like you have to watch it to see what happens.
I'll say this: when I finished watching the last episode of season 2, I immediately texted Cameron asking, "So there's going to be a season 3, right? Right?" That's how A, invested I am in this world, and B,
just how good it is.
Yeah.
No, I remember when I watched the first season because my friend really loved it, and I was like, you know what? I have time. I don't go to work until later. I watched the whole first season in one sitting, and I got super mad that it was over in 10 episodes. I was like, what? That's it? No! I wanted to, well, not really wanted to, but I wanted to toss my TV out the window. Just to be like, God darn it, now I gotta wait. And this show also has musical numbers in it. So just anyone who's curious about the music. And the songs are great. The whole soundtrack is great. And Daniel Rojas has a hand in that. Like it has this like pop and hip hop vibe to the world, but it all fits. And the musical numbers are great and are really funny. And in some cases, like the Billions Wolves, educational. Mm-hmm. Do you have any like downsides or any like nitpicks at all?
Honestly, not really. I think like the only one I can think of is I would have liked to see Jamak to be a little bit more involved in the season 2 finale, but he's used like just the right amount.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to be careful with characters like this because you don't want to wear their welcome out. And
you know what? I actually do have one slight nitpick is I don't think we see enough of Kipo's friends from the burrow.
Oh yeah, from the second season, we're introduced to some human characters that unfortunately get sidelined pretty quickly. Troy, Asher, and Dahlia. And one of the big reveals of the show, because you think, oh, there's a young girl and a young boy, they're about the same age, they better get together. Benson outright says that he's gay, which, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think that was kind of like one of the first things that the show kind of caught wind, like caught, not flack, but like positive. Like, whoa, it's like, okay, cool. He was just kind of straightforward with his answer. Like in one of the episodes, they kind of build up to the fact that like, oh, the two characters are going to get together, and no, which is something I kind of like. You don't have to have a male and a female character get together anymore.
Right. And I also love how upfront he was about it.
Yeah. No, and I guess this is one small minor spoiler for season 2, but it's also kind of like, it doesn't matter a whole lot to the main story. It kind of pops up from time to time. He gets in a crush with one of the kids, Troy, and not a whole lot gets built up on that. It's kind of like introduced and then put to the sidelines until much later. And that's a shame because I liked the new human kid characters.
Yeah, those I bet those kids are going to have a bigger part to play in season 3.
Yeah,
but therein lies the problem. We have to wait until
season 3 happens.
Yeah.
No, it's a shame because I also like their voice actors. I like Gulian Yao Gioiello as Troy. I like Frida Wolf as Dahlia and Rhea Butcher as Asher. And man, I just really like this show. I could watch it again right now.
Same.
Absolutely.
Same.
And also like I could go on for hours about this, like all the little aspects of like what happens with Yan Hammerpaws when you are introduced to him. You think he's a legend among the Timbercats, but then it's like, oh no, he just went up to the top of the tree to find something and he hasn't come back down. And like what you find out is so funny. I won't give it away, but if you are a cat owner, you will relate to this.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's on Netflix. The 2 seasons are just great. Probably some of the best family entertainment out this year.
Absolutely. This one comes highly recommended.
Yeah, same here. Just 10 out of 10. I will be shocked if we don't get a 3rd season.
Same. I feel like they're going to announce it probably within the next month or 2.
I'm curious about like the production schedule and see what's going to happen because like I said, the first season came out in January and the new season came out 2 months ago, so we'll have to see. Oh, and Gray Delisle Griffin is also in this show a whole lot. You'll see her pop up everywhere. So.
Yeah, she voices like a handful of characters and she's just terrific.
Yeah, she's one of the great voice actresses for a reason. So should we head on to our final show?
Yeah. Can I describe the plot of this next one? So this is an anime that came out at the end of last month called Dorohedoro.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in the gloomy, dank, and dystopian underworld, so dismal it's known only as the Hole, sorcerers from a different world, the so-called magic users, have been plucking people off the streets to use as guinea pigs for atrocious experiments in the black arts. The series follows the story of Kaiman, an unlucky fellow who had such an encounter with a magic user that left him with his head transformed into that of a reptile's and unable to remember who he was before the transformation. Since then, Kaiman has been traveling around the Hole, accompanied by Nikaido, his female companion, in hunt of any magic users he can come across, hoping to find whoever cursed him, and that in doing so, he will be able to reclaim the lost memories of his past. So, first of all, I want to ask you, did you watch this subbed or dubbed?
Before we get to that, no, actually, I'll get to this first. I watched this dub, and I'm not going to try to drag up the corpse of the dub versus sub debate. Watch the show however you want. do not care about if someone watches it sub or dub. But I watched it for the dub. But why do you ask?
I'm just curious because I watched the dub, but I also had the English subtitles on.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it a little bit amusing how the subtitles and the dub like often didn't match.
That's the thing about translation. You have to, if you're going to translate something to another language, you have to change the script but keep like the same the same idea of what they're talking about and not
Right.
go all for kids on it. And it's that kind of interesting dynamic of like why some people like watching it with subtitles in the original language, because then you get the mannerisms and the acting and such. But not everyone can enjoy subtitles, because then you like, if you look away, you'll probably miss something. And that's why I like watching the dub. I just want to be able to look away for a second when I'm working, so then I can like look back and not miss anything because I'm listening to it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just kind of defaulted to the dub for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I figured as long as I'm getting the story, it really doesn't matter. Although that being said, I will be honest. There were at times where the kind of rough around the edges and also kind of dark and gritty animation style
Mm-hmm.
would often clash with the humor of the dialogue.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's not a complaint. That's just an observation, because because that's just kind of part of the reason why I love this show so much. It allows itself to be kind of everything all at once.
Yeah, this is a very unique show because this is this is the first time we are talking about an anime on this podcast. And so far, 2020 has such a fantastic year for animation. Well, at the very least, anime. You've had the surprise hit of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, which is on Crunchyroll. Then in, I think, March, you had Beastars, which is another CGI anime that landed on Netflix. And it's also really, really good. And there are some other series going on right now, but I'm kind of slowly going through them. But the reason why I chose Dorohedoro is because of the world. It's a very I guess diesel punk like visual aesthetic. It kind of looks like something from a Tool video.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And like a lot of the times anime gets kind of a bad rap for all kind of looking the same, kind of like the whole dumb Cal Arts argument that is brought up with American animation. But Dorohedoro is so distinct. It's so like grimy metal rock-ish. And a lot of that is because of the character designs. Now, the whole series was created by a female manga artist named Kyu Hayashida. And fun fact from doing research on this, from what I read, she made this whole world, this whole crazy world where a guy with a lizard head has to bite down on magicians to get information to see if this is the magician that turned him into who he is through a head in the back of his mouth. That sounds kind of confusing, but you kind of have to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But she made this whole manga and whatnot from apparently the fact that people told her that she couldn't draw. So out of spite, the good kind of spite, she proved everyone wrong. And this is a very popular manga series and hopefully a popular anime series. But yeah, what do you like about the world and the characters of Dorohedoro?
I like how there's a mystery element to it. This one's kind of hard to describe because it's so unique in its storytelling.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it even kind of reminds me of Kipo in the Age of Wonderbeasts. And trust me, we did not plan it this way. At least I hope not.
No, we needed some new cartoons to talk about since we talked about Rick and Morty and whatnot last time we did a filler episode. So I decided to place in our first anime series, and since it was the new kid on the block, I decided to go with this one. And for your introduction to the world of Netflix anime, I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah. But as I was saying, in comparing this to Kipo, it kind of has a similar story structure where it weaves in like the main plot with flashbacks that kind of fill in the gaps of these characters. Like you'll find out more about Kaiman's life before he got
Turn into a lizard.
yeah, before the spell was cast.
Yeah.
We also get to meet one of the villains when he was younger and was actually friends-ish, or was like an
acquaintance.
Yeah, an acquaintance to one of our allies who work at the hospital for.
Yeah, basically the hospital and the whole functions as a hospital, but also a what are the places where you take a body to get burned? A morgue.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. The morgue.
Yeah. So, on top of following Kaiman's story, we follow the escapades and shenanigans of a magician known as N, and that's E-N, so N, voiced by Keith Silverstein. He is a magician who has a very gnarly magical ability of turning people into mushrooms. And you think, oh, that sounds goofy as heck. But then you kind of think about it and you see the visuals and how, like, on a dime, he can just, like, change. Because one of the more interesting things about the villains here is they're likable. They are super endearing. Probably as endearing as Nikaido and Kaiman. And a lot of the fun is watching them, like, them go through their antics of, like, trying to conquer the world. Not in a Pinky and the Brain or Team Rocket kind of way, but just kind of like, okay, I want to do this, so let's do this. And
I think this show more than any other anime as far as I know,
mm-hmm.
it almost feels like this show it's probably the most like morally gray of like hero and villain dynamic, because like depending on the episode, like sure, N is also kind of like a big powerful, I don't know if I call him a mob boss or anything, but like,
yeah,
he's like a powerful person of influence.
Yeah,
so naturally he would qualify as the villain.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, he also is a very well-defined character. But so are his
cohort,
his like associates like Shin and Noi and Fujita.
Yeah, and Ebisu. Yeah, so Noi and Shin are cleaners. They take care of like any of the quote-unquote rats or other magicians that may cause in like any trouble. Shin has the magical ability to basically slice and dice you, but keep you alive, which is a nightmarish way of surviving all that, because you're alive, but you're basically meat at a butcher shop. Mm-hmm. And Noi, who is best girl, like probably my favorite female character of the show, is a extremely violent individual whose magic is basically she can heal herself, she can heal other people. And this is a very like grunge approach to like wizards and magic and such, which gives this show its own flair from like Harry Potter. And Shin and Noi have probably some of the best chemistry of all the characters in the show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Fujita, he kind of like, he shows up at the beginning, and to add on to the moral gray area of it all, the first thing that happens in the show is that Kaiman and Nikaido encounter Fujita and his partner, and Kaiman just eviscerates his partner in front of him, just slices him into little meaty chunks. So, like, from that regard, Kaiman kind of looks like a bad guy, because anytime he comes across a magician, he, bites their head. The head within his head says either you are not the one or you are the one. And if you're not the one, you die. And
this is exactly what I meant by gray morality.
Yeah, and Fujita, like, he kind of gets relegated to being a side character, unfortunately. So his story arc of trying to get back his friend, who, was brutally murdered, gets kind of pushed to the side until later. And then Abisu's kind of complicated for me because she's like one of the more important characters of the show so far, but she's also sidelined as the comic relief for the villains. She's
depending on your sense of humor, Ibiza will either be your favorite character or the most annoying thing ever. I personally love whenever the show turns her into the comic relief, because for some reason, like all of her like short dialogue and whatever she does in the background, it never ceases to make me laugh. But at the same time, they also try to prop her up as, sort of an important piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, it's not handled the best. And this is a very like strange world that they live in. Like there's a doctor who was turned into he was like 64 or so, and then he got turned into a teenager named Kasukabe. And he has some interesting bits to it, but his encounter with the magician is never fully like brought up. It's just kind of hand waved. But then they do weave him back into the story by his encounter with Shin. And they probably have one of my favorite scenes together, and just probably one of the better jokes also. And no, it's a very unique anime series, and I love the designs of all the characters. Like a lot of the times with anime, they get kind of relegated to being rail thin or just kind of like super good looking Barbie Ken doll kind of look.
Yeah, the one thing you can't say about this show is that
it doesn't look derivative.
Right. And I think one of the best examples of that is Noi, who, okay, when granted, when she's younger, she does have a more traditional, like, female anime design.
Yeah.
But, like, in the present day, she is, like, an anime woman, but with the body of, like, a Broly.
Yeah. She will definitely mess you up, let's just say that. And she will not hesitate to either slice your head in half, bash your head into a wall, or anything else. I guess we should have said this beforehand, but Dorohedoro is a fairly violent show with some very adult gags and such. So
yeah, on Netflix it's rated TVMA, so not for kids.
Not for kids. And I like there was that article recently that went up about like why animation for adults is becoming a bigger deal. And I think Dorohedoro would not work as a kid show or as a show for teens. I think it finds its lane here, and it doesn't fall into the traps of like what American animation thinks adult shows can be. Like it's not just like a cynical comedy. The world of Dorohedoro is cynical, but there's like a slight optimism to it all, to like Kaiman's journey to finding out who he is and such. But it's like I see this and I don't instantly compare it to like Rick and Morty or like Super Jail or like any shows that kind of like rely on the hyperviolence a little.
Yeah, no, this is very much an Eastern example of adult animation.
Like there's a story arc with Ein where he takes Shin, Noi, Fujita, and Ibisu to a mansion to a corpse party, and through spoilers. Through the end of it all, the main goal was to find this magic user who could bring people back to life. And something happens, and Ein just on a like flip of a dime kills the person, turns her into mushrooms, but then actually finds out what he's looking for is this animal thing. I don't know how to describe it. He calls Kirukage or Kikurage, and his interactions are so funny with Kikurage.
Oh yeah, that little thing is just adorable.
And there's there's other parts of it, like there's a giant walking bug character that you meet later on in the first season.
Oh, Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson, whose
only line of dialogue is shocking.
Yeah, like shocking. And at first I was like, I don't know what what they're going to do with this character, but then he ends up being like one of the best characters, or like at least the side characters. And for a lot of like the tone of the anime being this mix of like grunge, violence, and comedy, I thought it was pretty consistently funny.
Same.
There's never like a joke that, I mean, yeah, sure, some jokes may fall flat depending on your comedy taste, but I don't think I saw a joke that felt out of place. Like there are even some kind of like anime joke tropes that I'm not super fond of, and if you know me, you know which ones I absolutely do not like. But they're like the least bad versions of those jokes, and it works, you know.
Yeah. One of the episodes that I enjoyed for kind of silly reasons is the obligatory baseball episode, because every anime needs to have a baseball episode.
Oh yeah, every anime, because baseball is still fairly popular in Japan. Just like Samurai Champloo, there's going to be a baseball episode. Yeah, but go ahead.
And I think the reason why that one works so well is because it puts a little bit of the focus on Fujita and Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the show does a good job of like fleshing everyone out, including the side characters. Like some side characters you only meet, at least so far, once. Like there's a magician named Turkey, and he only shows up for one episode, but I remember him. And there are other characters like Chota, this magician who's buff and has a thing for in and wears like this weird S&M bird mask, who I think is fairly funny. Maybe totes the line on being the Fae villain character, you know?
Yeah, he's got like he definitely leans a little close to Fae.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what happens and how they handle characters like that. But just like Kipo, I just love the characters. I love Vox, the doctor. I like Tanba, the meat pie store owner. And like we've said, this is a very wholly unique anime. And unfortunately, since it's on Netflix doesn't bother to market this stuff. And due to its like offbeat world and kind of tone, I feel like people are going to miss out on this. And of course, it doesn't help that it's a TVMA rated show. But I feel like if you're like in the upper teens and young adults, and if you want to watch like an anime that's unique, I think like definitely give this one a go. There's not really a whole lot I can say that I don't like about it. I think a lot of the mystery being like up in the air is because, you know, we don't know if we're getting a season 2.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. This is one of those anime series that it may not be for everyone, but if you're willing to take a chance on something that's kind of like, you know, this unique but also sort of reminiscent stylistically of like film noir and dark fantasy, sci-fi, like that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
This is something that I would definitely recommend. If what we described sounds like it's up your alley, then you definitely want to check this out.
Yeah, and the voice cast for this is great if you go for the dub. Alex Lee as Kaiman, Reba Burr as Nikaido, Keith Silverstein as Een, Sean Chiplock as Shin, Jeremy Lay as Noi, Bryce Pappenbrook as Fujita, Christina V as Ibisu, Griffin Burns, Michael Sanch, Cassandra Lee Morris, Billy Comets, Jameson Price, Christopher Corey Smith, Doug Erholtz. Just a good cast. Which one was he?
He's 13.
Which one was 13?
13 was the guy you see in the baseball episode who has the hots for Nikaido.
Oh yeah. See now I want to rewatch this show again, because like I rewatched a little bit of it today, and totally check this series out. If you're like Mike said, if you're looking for a dark fantasy sci-fi series, you can just watch this. Even like it's way better of an option than watching Artemis Fowl. Oh my gosh, do not watch Artemis Fowl. You can find a much better dark sci-fi fantasy, and Dorohedoro is right there, and Kipo is there. Do not watch Artemis Fowl.
I was going to transition to recommendations, but Cameron just flipped the script and gave us an anti-recommendation.
I mean, like, we talked about this before the show, before we recorded, and I feel bad for everyone involved with Artemis Fowl, but the movie's not good. That thing got edited and just chopped to bits, like Kaiman killing that first magician in the first episode of Dorohedoro. It's not a good movie. Instead, I recommend a anime that's on Funimation now called Appare Ranman, which is basically a mix of Wacky Racers and Around the World in 80 Days. It's about a young man who doesn't really care much for social norms or inheriting his family's merchant business. He's more interested in gadgets and steam, like locomotive stuff. So he leaves Japan after royally pissing everyone off with a samurai, and they end up in the US and they enter a racing competition. And it's such a cool show. It's so like fun to watch. The designs are great. The characters of Appare and Kusame, the samurai, it's just good chemistry. They work well off of one another, and the animation's great. It's a very cool looking show. Unfortunately, due to everything, it got delayed, but so there's only 3 episodes up for it, but the 4th episode will be up at the end of July when they pick up production in like 3 weeks or so. I also recommend another Netflix anime called Cannon Busters, which is very much something you probably would have watched in the 90s on like Toonami or something. It's a sci-fi fantasy show, so I guess we got a theme a little outside of the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
It's a very unique show because it's made by a Black creator, LaShawn Thomas, who worked on the Boondocks, Black Dynamite, and plenty of action shows. And it has a mostly all Black cast of characters. And I think that's very cool because anime, as great and as creative as it can be, is not really good with representation of everyone else. It's kind of like how American TV still struggles with representing certain ethnicities and races well, you know?
Right.
And it has a mostly Black voice cast also, which is very cool because you unfortunately don't hear about that also. And it definitely has some pacing issues, and there hasn't been a second season announced, and there needs to be a second season because the first season ends on a cliffhanger. Not a bad cliffhanger, but it's like, okay, this story is done, but now we have to set up this new story. So I hope it gets a second season. It's such a fun little show, and it also has a great Kipo style soundtrack of hip hop and pop. But that will be it for me for recommendations. Mike, do you have anything?
Other than the 2 shows that we discussed at length today, the only other recommendation I have is something that I've been watching a lot of recently. I've been going back and watching Tiny Toons because, and we'll talk about this later, but Tiny Toons is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. So
Nice.
it's been fun to go back and revisit some of my favorite episodes, my favorite like skits, and just like kind of going back and hanging out with some of my favorite classic Looney Tune characters and their younger counterparts like Babs and Buster Bunny, Plucky Duck.
Yeah.
So on another episode, we will definitely talk about all things Warner Animation, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Tiny Toons. But for now, you can check out that and the other Steven Spielberg shows like Animaniacs and Freakazoid, all on Hulu.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Well, first of all, I can't believe Tiny Toons is 30 years old. That's amazing.
Right?
And I wasn't a Tiny Toons kid when I was growing up. I was a I came up during more of the time of Animaniacs and Freakazoid.
Yeah, and
So
Animaniacs is actually my favorite of those three, but Tiny Toons, going back and revisiting it's a lot better than than I really gave it credit for.
yeah, no, that tends to happen, especially since you have Spielberg executive producing a lot of this. So I don't have too many memories of it, but I do have like I think my favorite episode is when Plucky Duck is trying to get into the Warner studio lot, and he has to go against Ralph, the security guard.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and if you are curious, yes, Ralph, the security guard, is the same one that you see in Animaniacs, but they flipped the page with Ralph in Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, where Animaniacs he was like a goofy, dumb cop. Um, he's a threat in Tiny Toons. There are from what I remember, two distinct shorts where he is the antagonist to the characters, and they still use Frank Welker's like, yeah, where do you think you're going voice, but he's like a Bugs Bunny kind of character. He's snarky, he's sarcastic, and that one episode just makes me laugh so much because you don't see the dumb security guard actually have the upper hand in a lot of like comedy and such. And I know saying this while everything is going on, but I do love that short. And Tiny Toons crawled so Animaniacs could walk. So it's like I think we have to pay respect to Tiny Toons, even if Animaniacs was like overall the better show.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah, no, it was a good time for cartoons for back then, as is right now. It's a good time for cartoons. And yeah, no, I can't wait to rewatch Tiny Toons. Where you said it's on Hulu?
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't think all the DVDs are out yet for Tiny Toons, or last I checked. So if you don't want to deal with the physical purchases of it all, definitely check it out on Hulu.
Indeed. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Tooned Up. Thank you guys for sticking with us on this latest episode. Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me in the Renegade Pop Culture Facebook group. I post there from time to time. You can find me on Twitter at CamsEyeView. You can check out my work on camseyeview.biz with all my written animation editorials and reviews. I'm about to post the finale to the worst to best animated films of 2019 later tonight or tomorrow, depending on how I'm feeling. You can also find me on Instagram, but I'm not super social on there right now. And if you like my work, you can go to patreon.com/camseyeview to help out a little. But yeah, but that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. Check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And look for me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name, Michael K. Don't forget to also check out our Facebook group, Renegade Pop Culture. And you can also find us on Twitter. And last but not least, check out renegadepopculture.com for all your nerdy needs. Need an escape? So do we.
And we are also on Spotify now.
Yes, we just joined Spotify, so check out our previous episodes over there. And that'll do it for this episode of Tooned Out. Catch you guys later.
See you, y'all. Bye.